Hey YouTube, it's MJ back here again. I wanted to talk today about the inside job. I like to call it the inside job. So basically, call it the search. It's here inside of all of us. So even if we're talking about the narcissistic energy, all of it, it's all about each person going inside and really owning that for themselves. And so, um, I don't know. It's been a long time ago. There was a book, maybe a lot of people know about it. It's called The Celestine Prophecy, and I actually was just watching. I was somewhere where I didn't have internet connection, so I was just like wanted to have a little mental break and watch something. And I have on my computer downloaded the Celestine Prophecy movie, and the author is James Redfield, and I. I just can't. I mean, I even homeschool. When I homeschooled in Central America for a long time, I even had that as one of the main things that we read. Because it's just so brilliant the way it's written in a fiction form, but it's all really true. So anyway, one of the insights is about relationships and how we kind of come together a lot as a half circle, like a letter C. And then we connect to someone else that's a half circle, and we think we made a whole person, and what ends up happening is we just start to suck each other's energies, or however this relationship dynamic plays out. So again, I think it always comes back to this, and as we evolve on the planet, I mean, if we look back, I mean, I know when my grandmother, she couldn't drive. She couldn't get out of it. I mean, there was a lot of things in that time that people had to learn through ways that they couldn't not learn, because it was just the way things were set up on the planet at that time. So as things got different, and we moved through ages and different cycles, we have an ability to change things. I mean, it's a lot easier than it used to be for people. So that is the good news. Yay. So we don't really have to stay stuck. What we really do is stick ourselves. So, I mean, it's an inside job. So, I mean, if I'm stuck, and that's another thing I wanted to bring up as well, just to kind of veer off for a second here, which is really the same thing. But I feel it's very important when you get into a relationship to make sure that you have your own, not only, obviously the whole, if you can be as whole as you can. None of us are walking on water yet that I know of, but to really do that work, that self-reflection and that inside work with yourself, and always looking here. So then it will be easier. It will be easier when you have that before you get into something else where you have to be financially dependent or anything. I think it's a very, especially if you decide to do a government marriage, where you actually have it, through the government. So you have to, that gets involved, which I don't really, in my personal opinion, I would rather just spiritually, if I found, if I wanted to marry someone, I would do it in our own spiritual way. I don't really see the need to involve all the extra stuff, but whoever needs to do that, it's whatever people do. But just try to keep yourself separate from anything that, if something should happen. And not everybody's going to be a narcissist. So I mean, it's like sometimes things just aren't a match and they don't work out. And however it goes down, it's just always a good idea to keep that, as we're talking about the inside job, but also as you're going into anything to try something in this human experience. Hey, I'm going to try this. This feels good. Maybe we can do this for a while. However you do it, just being clear in your agreements. And I feel like that's one of the main things on the spiritual level that we do our inside job as we go through that is then when you go into a relationship, to be clear right away. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we sometimes aren't clear in ourselves, or we don't want to have, it feels like it's already spoken. Well, it's not. A lot of the times is where we get into these issues. And so if two people make an agreement, and even you can even sign it and make it like really crazy, but in a good way. But I mean, it's just like basically what happens, I feel, is that we have too many unspoken agreements that one person just feels like it should already be known. And so we get into all this. So all this shit. So it's like if we just come together, even if there's a narcissist involved that we don't even understand that that's what's happening at the time, still you have these agreements that you've written. So you have that clear knowing, because this narcissistic rampage going on here on the planet is just crazy. It's out of control. And I know there's a lot of reasons why it's happening. But definitely it's from not being clear with yourself and others, for sure. And I mean, just in general, in any relationship. So the agreements are very important, I feel. And I do know of a book that it's very good. It's very short. It's just, it goes through, and you can do it with your partner or yourself. It's also an inside job book too. But it's called Sexual Agreements. And I believe the author is Amara, Amara. So it's short and sweet, but it gets to the point, and I think it's really good for us to even do first and foremost the inside job, do it with ourselves, but then be able to make agreements. And then this book is really nice, and because it's like, well, maybe the agreement's going to change now. Maybe I feel different in a year from now, or a couple, whatever, a week, whatever agreements they are. So at that point, I'm responsible then to renegotiate the agreement, or however, but to communicate that to somebody else that's involved in this agreement, which I think is the biggest thing with the narcissistic deal, is because they don't really see that. They don't see that part. And I think the more we try to be responsible for that in ourselves, then we won't draw as much as this to us, because it'll just be too much work for them, and it'll just blow their minds. They can probably fake it for a little while, but eventually, sooner than later. And that's the other good news, is that as we keep doing this self-reflection in our work, our inner work, then we will literally and stay connected to our higher souls, and to the spirit world, however you connect with that, whether you call it God or spirit or creation or just your higher brain, however you connect with that in yourself is the thing. There is no way that anyone can tell you how to connect to that sacred place in you, and with the angels and guides around you of light. There's a tribe of light. There's no way that anyone can tell you exactly how that works for you. So just keeping the inside job, to that way we also stop maybe having so much judgment of others and how they do their thing or whatever. It won't really matter as much when we just keep that connection real strong. Now, they're still able to mock that, of course. If we have a narcissistic person coming in, they're still able to do that. It's just going to be so much easier to see it quicker than if you're not staying real connected in the self-awareness process. And also check out my my videos on juicy joints. So I'm a yoga teacher, but I also realize, as I do structural integration work, posture work, that people are not able sometimes to commit to. They're already coming to me to keep from going to surgery or whatever's going on, or just because they want more awareness in their body. But also, a lot of these people, they just don't have time. They're not going to commit. They're not going to be able to do it, yoga class every 3 times a week or whatever. So I made this video just to kind of keep the first place the aging process starts is the joints. So just to keep your joints juicy, and made it easy so that you can just turn your records on, whatever, and just do your, I guess, because I just, I've been playing with my vinyls again. But you can turn your music on, and then just, and even wherever you're at, even like when I'm driving, and I'll be in my chariot for a while, I'll just be like, oh, what am I doing here? I gotta get my shit together, get my spine straight. So you can do it, like full blown on. Sometimes I'll go into I'll do it because I don't have a lot of time, so I'll just do like 5-10 minutes, whatever, just to make sure and then throughout the day, I'm still doing stuff and trying to stay aware to, awareness precedes transformation. So if you can become aware that you're in a pattern or you're doing something, then it's a lot easier to get out on all levels. So in the body, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. It's about self-awareness, again, the inside job. So the body also needs to happen with all of this. I know that I went to a couple of meetings after my ex got out of this 30-day rehab thing. And one of the things I noticed was that they just kept repeating the stories in these meetings. So you just keep repeating the same story. How long do you have to talk about the story? I understand in due process, we have to go through our process. But these stories it seems like go on way too long. And sometimes we need to change that up. And I was also noticing I was noticing people's postures in there, like just their posture. And we have to keep our spine straight in order for the energy to move in our beings and to move through these experiences. Not that they're still not going to happen, whatever they are, but to be able to move through them and to not let them stay trapped. Issues in our tissues and stagnation happens and arthritic conditions and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And if we can just keep our posture correct, it also will help a lot, because I notice a lot when I work with clients, so I do coaching and things. So basically, I notice people close their hearts down, and sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's just chronic posture from being on the computer or whatever they're doing. So to open up your heart, just to keep that heart open, the spine straight, and just moving the energy so that it's like a water hose that gets kinked. If you have a water hose and and it's kinked, the water's not coming out. Well, our bodies are energy, and we're energy beings. When this physical body leaves the planet, it goes back into decomposition. So we obviously understand and overstand that there must be something a little bit different going on here to keep this thing operating here, right? It's our life force, our prana, our soul, our spirit, our juiciness. So that is why we need to keep this vehicle that's carrying it around erect, moving, fluid, juicy, moving through experiences, and feeling like that way even when we go out into the world, or we're with whatever is the case, if it's our own stuff, if it's just the universe that we had to go out in the 3D world and somebody pissed us off, whatever it is, even if it's not art, we have to move through it, or it becomes an issue in our tissue. And countless times doing sessions, I've noticed people will sometimes have I'll be working, this will be an older person, I'll be working on their, maybe their arms, for example, and they will have a memory come back of when maybe they broke it when they were 12, and something will come up for them. It's really true. We do trap experiences. So I also wanted to say this about the experience with the narcissism. It is an inside job. So we are responsible for moving our own energy as well as processing our own shit, and just staying, fluid in our emotional body, our mental body, our physical body, just all of it. So it's all working and operating in this way that's not stagnation, which I feel is what happens when we get into these weird situations. And also I feel like there's a lot of times that, either there's kids involved and you didn't realize it, or that's also another whole thing that but still the bottom line that I just wanted to bring across here is just to be able to really take responsibility for our inside job, so that when something and things will happen in life, we are able to move through it in a better, more graceful, evolved, conscious, aware manner, instead of just being victims. I'm not saying it's not okay to understand shit that sucked, what just happened. It's not cool, and to go through that due process. But victim, I don't know. That word just implies that I wasn't also involved in this situation somehow. So I like to want to just call it in to take responsibility for ourselves. And yes, I understand these are some different individuals we're talking about, and some darkness has definitely taken over. But I'm just suggesting that we remember that we are what we want to be as well, and we want to be whole in ourselves, so that we don't feel like we need something else to complete us. And that's where the leak comes in. Really, that's where the leak gets in. If your boat's watertight, and we all have to work on that all the time, including myself, obviously. But I'm not walking on water yet. I believe I can fly. But I just wanted to put that out there, that we have to keep that awareness in ourselves. So like a daily practice where we don't allow ourselves to be monopolized. So we just... No matter what your dedication is, whatever you can manage, you could say 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. I can meditate for an hour. I could be in here in my juicy joints and get crazy and go into yoga and the whole thing for 2 hours. Or I can do it for 5 minutes. But it's really good to make an agreement with yourself on how much you can dedicate, and not to falter and waver on that, because it really does start to make a huge difference. And being protected. So yeah, so I just was going to I'm going to pick a card for my Ascended Master deck for this group inside job thing here going on, calling off the search. And it says to listen. So basically, there we go again, listening, writing, because we got a lot of stuff that comes through from our higher souls and our spirit guides and angels of the light, or however you want to term it for yourself. But we do have a lot of messages that come through, insights and things that are in our dreams or however. So listening is a great way. Thank you. Hallelujah. So basically, that's a great way to remember to listen to and to write. Like, it's also good to get your thoughts out by writing them down and keeping a journal. Just whatever tools work for you, but just remembering always take responsibility for yourself. Even if you can't do a lot, you feel like you can't even get out of bed, whatever it is, 5 minutes even, you know what I mean? All that stuff starts to make a difference. You get fluid, you get moving through the experiences, and it just makes a huge difference. Again, just the energy, I would recommend, and whoever hasn't read the book, or even if you have, to go through it again or watch the movie, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. It's so good, just to remind you of the energy and how it moves and how we have, I think it's just a great thing. And then there's the Sexual Agreements. That's a great place. And then there's one more book I want to mention, The Way of the Superior Man. It is a really, really good book as well. So these are, also you can do them with yourself, but and I have an Enlighten Up program, so please feel free to go on my channel here. You should be able to find the Juicy Joints, Melissa Jude, and Posture Awareness. It's all on there. And my Enlighten Up program, I think, is on there as well, because I do a whole online program that people can also do. So anyway, thank you, and I wanted to share that message because I really felt that coming in strong. Like, just we have to keep raising it up and just take responsibility here. And we're gonna go through stuff, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes we're gonna get slapped upside the head with something, maybe. You know, but the more that we take responsibility here, the less available it is to be so damaging and so long. As long as we're moving, you know, we just have to keep that going. And I just want to put that out there, and anything to help in that way. Look at my channels. I also do private sessions, so by email by video or phone, if you're not in the Arizona area. So you can just go to thevisionexchange.com, or yeah, and all my information's on there, or reach me through here. So stay high, inside. The inside job. Call off the search. Keep it high. Many blessings. Until next time.